2, 3. Testing, testing. Can you hear me now, guys? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hello, hello. There we go. Come on, Prince. It's just a small mistake. We're here, we're here. Just making sure everything is working. There we go. Let me just get some quick music. Let's get free copyright music. We don't want any issues. The music's coming from the speakers. Give me 1 second. There we go. Let me know if you can hear the music, guys, and let me know if it's too loud or if it's just perfect. Hopefully it's not that invasive. Cool. So welcome, guys. Welcome to our Monday live stream. We've been, of course, talking about all of the different things that we want to do for this year, how we want to keep growing the channel, how we want to keep offering cool stuff, and of course 3D stuff. We're gonna keep with premium courses. We're gonna keep with our content, free content every single day. So one of the things that I wanted to incorporate into our arsenal of things is the live stream. I want to make sure that we can get more frequent live streams so that we can chat, we can interact, I can answer some questions, and we can make some cool 3D stuff. So we are gonna have our live streams every single Monday at 9 a.m. Mexico time, which is gonna be 9 p.m. India time. Some Mondays, the streams will be a little bit shorter, probably like an hour, and other times we might be able to go like a little bit longer, maybe 2 hours, depending on the amount of workload that I have for you guys. I'll show you my calendar for this week, and you're gonna see it's it's really filled with stuff here. Let me show you. Give me 1 second. Let's go to full screen. There we go. Let's go to week. Look at this. It's messed up, guys. It's messed up. My calendar is completely filled from 9 a.m. all the way to 9 p.m. every single day of the week. So, as I mentioned, I'm gonna try to get in all of the information for you guys, so that we can have a live stream every single Monday, okay? 9 a.m. Mexico time, 9 p.m. India time. I think you guys are like 12 hours ahead of me, so that's what we're gonna do. This week, we're gonna continue during the week. We're gonna continue with the little dude, the reindeer that we were doing. This guy. So there's gonna be 1 or 2 classes about this guy. And we're gonna continue with the environment as well, the creepy environment that we're doing for this sort of Japanese thing. No Phonex, I really like how you treat the channel and videos. Keep it up. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, we've been doing this for like 1 year, 1.5 years. At first, we started with longer videos, but you know the YouTube algorithm is really unforgiving, so we need to adapt to what YouTube is asking so that we get the best possible results. So we have 1 hour right now, guys. What should we do? What should we do? Do you want to work a little bit of Maya? Should I teach you some Maya modeling tricks? You guys could help me actually. I'm planning the classes. Some of you guys know, but I'm planning the classes for the university. I teach at the university. As you can see, we have the yellow ones are the university over here, and in one class I'm teaching them Blender. And I need to find something, like a model, like a prop. That's gonna be their first exercise for the first month. Skin texturing, it says Akraf Bulsen. Okay, yeah, we can do that. Maya hard surface tricks, maybe. Okay, modeling. Yeah, like that's why I was saying like modeling could be a good idea. I am gonna be teaching the skin texturing a Kref, but I'm gonna do that on one of this week's video because there was, I think it was Dr. Manhattan, who's a very one of our top fans here in the channel. He was saying that Rafael Grassetti, all of you guys should know who Rafael Grassetti is. He's one of the best artists in the industry. He's using a workflow where he poly paints and then just brings the poly paint directly into Arnold. So I want to show you guys how to do that, but it's going to be on one of the videos throughout the week. Okay. Today I think modeling might be a good idea. But yeah, so I was mentioning, guys, I think I want to I need to show my students at the university, and of course you guys as well, how to model something. But I'm wondering what could be a good idea. This is fun. Like a biking horn. These are the kind of stuff that I always recommend if you're gonna start modeling. Like this simple yet like cool looking things is always a good idea to go for. CGI character modeling and texture. Yeah, we're doing that for one of our premium courses, Rush. We have the well, last year we did the first part of this sort of like masterclass. And I did this character right here, this like demon character. That's all of the sculpting process, and I'm finishing the next course right now, which is the what's the word? The texturing, the retopology and the texturing of the character. Some simple and complex shape. Let's see what I can do in 1 hour. Like that barrel looks interesting for an hour, like a 1 hour exercise. It's a little bit simple, but it's Hey Berg, how are you, man? Like all of these props are always super fun to do because they're relatively easy. Ooh, the well? Should we do the well? What do you guys think? Should we do the well? Yeah, I was telling them guys, Burke, I was telling the guys that we're gonna have a Monday live stream from now on for the foreseeable future. I'm gonna try to have one live stream. It's gonna be every Monday, 9 a.m. Mexico time, 9 p.m. India time. So we can chat and have a good time. Let's do the well. I haven't done a well in a while, so I'm gonna show you how we can make this well and make it a little bit more interesting because it's a little bit too simple in certain like parts and stuff, but we can make it really nice. So I'm gonna save this file. I'm gonna save it on the desktop for now. Now, should we do it on Maya or Blender? That's the question. Should we do it on Maya or Blender? Let's do Maya. While Maya is loading, guys, I just want to remind you that we have this very cool epic bundle. I'll be right back after this little commercial. Hey guys, we have some great news for you. We know how important it is to prepare yourself and keep learning amazing skills to improve your portfolio. And that is why we're offering a super epic bundle of our best 50 courses for you. This epic bundle is available through ArtStation. It contains all of the videos and project files for our top 50 courses. We have modeling, sculpting, rendering, rigging, animation, Maya, characters, creatures, props, Substance Painter, ZBrush, Unreal Engine. All of the topics that we've been covering in the past years are going to be there. Our top 50 courses are going to be included in this bundle. This bundle is at a super price with an amazing 80% discount. And we will have this bundle available throughout January. So, if you are wanting or you want to have some very nice New Year resolutions, if you want to increase your 3D levels and you want to become a master at the 3D art, then this is your opportunity. Make sure to check the link down below. There we go. So we're inside of Maya, and the first thing we need to do is we need to bring the object here, right, inside of Maya. I'm going to teach you one very cool trick because this is one of the things that a lot of people struggle with, which is to align an object that's not like perfectly front view or perfectly side view. As you can see, this has a little bit of perspective. It's like it just has a little bit of perspective. That's why we can see inside of the well. And if we want to perfectly match this thing right here, we need to also match that perspective. So you need to visualize this. When you see this image, you need to visualize that there is a plane, right? Like there's some sort of plane where this thing is like sitting on top of. We need to match that plane inside of Maya again to be sure that we have the proper proportions. And it's a little bit complicated, but it's not that difficult. Here's how we do it. We're gonna go to the plane. And by the way, if there's any questions, let me know. I have the chat right here at the right side, so we can see all of the information. So we're gonna go to rendering. I'm gonna create a new camera, and I'm gonna call this image plane camera. I'm gonna say panels, look through selected, and I'm gonna zoom out so we can see the plane right here. It's pretty much just another perspective camera, but the reason why we want to have this other perspective camera is so that we have the perspective camera without any sort of like links or images. Now here I'm gonna go view, image plane, import image, and we're gonna go to the desktop, and we're gonna select our well. So as you can see, that's our well. If the image is a little bit too big, we can go down here to the... Where was it? Object display? No. Guess we can like change the resolution. I mean, it's really not that much of a problem, but there is a way to make this thing a little bit smaller. That's fine. So what I want to do here is I want to find the proper perspective. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to create a cylinder, make it roughly the size that we want the well to be. I'm gonna make it thinner. I'm gonna push it to the top of the plane. There we go. And now we can match the perspective of the cylinder right there. It's gonna be a lot easier to match the well. So as you can see, that right there is really close. And as long as you're close enough, that should be more than enough. Sorter Mohammed says, "Hey, you are really?" I am really Abraham, and I am really live today to show you how to model. So I'm gonna bring the vertices down right here. That's the first like layer of our elements. I'm gonna select this top vertex. Oh, one thing I want to do first, I want to select the camera, and now that I find the proper perspective, I'm gonna block this. I'm just gonna right click and lock selected so that we can't move the camera anymore. And you can model from this view if you feel comfortable with, or you can jump to the perspective view and use both cameras at the same time. Here's how. You go back to your old camera and you say panels, here off copy, and we can have this camera like right here. And then we go to perspective and we can say, okay, like I'm gonna grab this vertex right here, a very cool shortcut, Control F11 to select all of the faces that are connected to that vertex. And then I'm gonna Control E to extrude, offset a little bit, probably push this up a little bit as well, like that, and then Control E and push it up. And that way I'm modeling on this side, but I'm looking at this side to make sure that the perspective and the proportions are as close as possible. We have one question from Burke. He says, I want to ask a question about the rendering. So I have an AMD GPU, and for that I cannot use Arnold Render because Arnold supports CUDA. That's right. Radeon Pro Render. But when I render, the colors are not matching with my textures. They're so bright in contrast. I found the solution by this correct way. I changed color management part of the defaults. Yes, it has to do with color management. So yeah, that's usually what happens. There's this new thing called the ACES profile over here. If I turn this off, you can see that the colors change quite a bit. This is a new thing that was introduced in Maya 2022. I've been doing some research about that, and it's like a standard like color. It's an industry color standard that the Academy uses, like films and stuff. And technically, if you have this turned on, your colors should display inside of Maya in the proper way. By default, Arnold will also render things in the proper way, but it won't be the same maybe for all of the other renders. So you might need to do exactly what you just mentioned, Burke. You might need to change things to either a linear workflow or a different workflow, and then in post-production, it could be Photoshop or After Effects, you can like keep on tweaking them so they properly match exactly what you have on your textures inside of Substance. Varjasin says, align the grid on the plank. It should be aligned to the plank because the stone is aligned. So if I create a cube right here and I bring it out, I think it should be aligned. Oh no, it's not perfectly aligned. Now this is also where sometimes the concept artists will make slight mistakes here and there. I'm not saying they did right here, but it could be the case. As you can see, I'm gonna have to move this quite forward. And it doesn't align as well, but the cylinder is quite aligned. So I rather right now keep the cylinder because it's gonna give me a better result. So I'm gonna control F11 this guy again. I'm gonna control E offset to create the hole on the well. Control E and bring this down. How much do we want to push it? Well, it depends. If we're gonna have a take like on a cinematic or in a commercial, and we want to like move things or make things really realistic, we might need to push this really low, right? But in this case, I think something like this should be more than enough. Yeah, you're welcome, Burke. That's fine. Yeah, it all has to do with the pipeline you're working with. If you're working on your own projects, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter as long as you get a good image. If you need to turn things off, turn things on, change things in post-production, doesn't matter. The image, the final image that you submit, that's what matters. That's what the client's going to pay you for. If you're working on a pipeline inside of a studio or for a client, you do need to check with them what kind of like systems or what kind of processes they're using to make sure that you are aligned to those processes and you get the closest result possible. Now we're gonna go over here. I need to count. I'm gonna let me bring the image somewhere else. So we got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 stones. That's fine. We have 20 sides right now. We can keep them. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some divisions. This is the first division right there, and that's the second division. And we could technically like do some like extrusions and stuff. I don't think it's gonna give us the best result. Like if we try to model the stones here, it's not gonna give us the best results. What could give us the best results is to separate the bricks. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to select this faces right here. Well, one more thing we need to do is we need to add the inside as well. So I'm going to add 1 and 2. I'm going to select this. I'm going to press a V and snap it to this one. So they're the exact same like distance. Same for this one. So let's snap them there. And same for this one. So let's snap them right there. There we go. So what we can do here is I can select this edge right here, which is the one that goes all around the object. And I can say, we go back to modeling, edit mesh, detach. And now these faces, as you can see, are separated from the rest of the little well. So I'm gonna grab these faces right here. I'm gonna say mesh, or just go into object mode, mesh and separate. And this is going to give me a separate piece right there. Oh, I should have separated this one as well. So edit mesh, detach, and then mesh, separate. And I should have only this ring right here. Perfect. Now that I have this one, I'm going to go into this edge, and we're going to breach. So we can fill in. You can imagine that these are like solid stones, and that's what we're creating right here. Finally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select each, like I'm going to skip one ring and select the next one. Like this, so that we can select the 10 stones that make up our ring. There's a question, maybe you will know this, if I do something in 3ds Max and I want to send it to Maya, it will have the same size or not. It depends. I think if the scale is frozen, like if your scale is 1 inside of 3ds Studio Max and you bring it into Maya, then the scale inside of Maya is also going to be 1. But you need to make sure that the scale inside of 3D Studio Max is set to centimeters, because that's the default scale that we have inside of Maya. So if you have a scale cube in 3D Studio Max and you bring it into Maya, it should be a 1 centimeter cube inside of Maya. But it's not the same between all of the software. So that's one thing that, again, you need to check. But it should be easy to transfer from one side to the other. So now that we have all of this line selected, I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to say edit edit mesh and detach. There we go. And now, as you can see, we have all of the separate pieces. Select the whole piece, and I'm going to say mesh, separate. And now each piece is its own little like stone. I can grab all of them and say mesh, fill hole. And that, as you are about to see, will fill the holes that were left when we detached the element. So now what we've pretty much done is we've created individual bricks for each part of this well stones. And then again, we need to think about, okay, we want to make the stones look a little bit nicer, right? Let's bevel them. I'm gonna grab all of them, combine them again, bevel them, and that's gonna give me a round effect. 2 segments and a small fraction. The only problem is this tends to happen. I don't like that, so I'm actually gonna just grab one of them and I'll show you a different trick. I'm gonna delete all of the other ones. You're like, what is this guy doing? Why is he destroying things? That's part of the process. I'm gonna grab this guy right here. I'm gonna bevel 2 segments in a small fraction so we get like a round effect. But I am gonna delete this inner edges that we have right here, so we get a rounder sort of stone. Especially when we smooth, we're gonna get a rounder stone. And now you can see that the pivot point is right there in the center, and we have 20 or 10 divisions, right? So if we control D to duplicate and we rotate this 36 degrees, okay, and we press Shift D, we're gonna do this or repeat that action, and that way we're gonna generate 10 different like stones right here. And then again, work smart, not hard. I'm gonna select all of these guys, Control D, move them, and then rotate them. Well, I'm gonna combine them so they're a single piece, and we can rotate them a little bit, and then we do that again. This one's can be a little bit bigger. There we go. I'm gonna select this and hide it on the layer, because this guys probably need to be like slightly bigger each time. Of course, we rotate this one as well, so we get the very nice sort of like overlap that we would normally get for this kind of stuff. And look at that, we've managed to create something that looks very, very nice. There seems to be those guys. Oh, there we go. Oh, I deleted the other one. Control D again. Just rotate this again, and there we go. Hey Mac, glad to see you, my friend. Good morning or good evening, depending where you are. Cool. Now we need to do the final part, which is the base. And as you can see, the base is slightly different because it has a little bit of a slanted thing. Pizza, welcome, my friend. Welcome to the stream. So for that one, I'm gonna delete these faces right here and these faces right here. I'm also gonna add a division here. So I'm gonna press Control F11, Control E to extrude, and offset this like this. So we get like an intersection. And then we just do the same thing. We grab this guy, and we bridge. Should give us this. This guy right here, probably gonna expand it a little bit so that it's flatter. Not that much. There we go, something like that. And we're gonna do the same thing. In this case, since I want to save a little bit of time, I'm just gonna delete everything except for 2 sections, like this section right here. I'm gonna say mesh, fill hole, so that both holes are filled. Select the whole thing, I'm gonna bevel. 2 segments and a small fraction. And then this center lines, I'm gonna delete 2 of them. Control delete always, so we delete the vertices. And that way we get this very nice round section right here. I probably want to make this thing a little bit deeper. So I'm going to select in the vertices right here. And then with scale, or with W in this case, I'm just going to push them in. So they overlap a little bit with the top section. And we get this sort of like a nice wall effect. Hey Reza, you're welcome, my friend. I'm glad you guys like the courses. It's I really enjoy doing them, to be honest. It's one of my favorite jobs that I have. There we go. Okay, it seems like that bevel is not as intense as we need it. We need to be a little bit more aggressive, so we can see a little bit more of the lines. So I'm gonna go to the poly bevel and let's see if we can just make it a little bit rounder. There we go. Control D. 36. There we go. There we go. So that's it. We've successfully built the stone well with a really nice coordination of the pieces. I'm gonna rotate this guys a little bit like that. That's gonna give me some nice variation. And this looks way better than just a simple cylinder, right? With a like stone texture. It looks like individual stuff. Bert Eicher wants to ask about realistic character creation. When we make our model in ZBrush, we need to do retopology in Maya, but the model can be very heavy. We do decimation for this, but when we do decimation, does it not change certain proportions of the model, especially if the character has pores? Yes, you are gonna lose the skin and the pore details. Like that's a fact. You're gonna lose it, but then you're gonna just use the decimated version for the retopology. For the bakes, you are gonna use a higher decimation percentage so that you don't lose as much of that as much of that detail as possible. And nowadays with Mari and with Substance Painter, you can recreate the skin, pores, and all that stuff inside of Substance, like directly on the texture, because there's a very common problem with character creation. Imagine a game like a mobile game, like I don't know, what's this one that they always announce? Mobile game fantasy. There's one that there's always promos for. Like, I don't know, this guy right here, okay? So if you're doing this game for a mobile game, the size that you're going to be seeing this character right here is going to be super tiny. So do you need skin pores and do you need like wrinkles and stuff? No, you're never going to see that detail. So you're only going to have probably like a 2K texture for the whole character. Therefore, you don't need the detail. Now, if you're going to do a God of War, then you're probably going to have a 4K map only for the face. It depends a lot on the project. I actually don't like to worry too much about pores and skin detail until I know what the character is going to be for. Because again, depending on the platform, you're not even going to have the resolution in the textures to like capture that detail, okay? Yeah, the Maya Bevel tool is amazing at Atlas. And Sampipa says, Nextut is my ZBrush guru, Maya guru, and Substance Painter guru. Thank you, my friend. Here's a very cool trick that you can do. We talked about this on the, I think it was on the last video for the environment that we're doing. But I'm gonna grab everything here. I'm just gonna say mesh, separate, and delete the history. Okay, again, let's, especially for this ones, I want each individual like block to be a separate block. So now every single block is a different block. I'm gonna grab all of the blocks, mesh, separate, okay, and delete history. Center pivot, very important. Each block should have its pivot point on the center. And we're gonna use one of the bonus tools that we have here, which is called, actually, let me save first before anything bad happens. Water, well, there we go. So we grab everything and we go bonus tools, modeling, or sorry, modify, and there's this randomize transform basics. And what we can do is we can select one of these guys and we can make them slightly bigger or slightly smaller. I think a 0.2 is good enough. So on the scale, I'm gonna go from a minimum 98 and maximum 102, like on the scale. And if we grab all of them and we say randomize scale a couple times, you're gonna see proportions are like tweaking around and moving around, and we're gonna have a well that looks a little bit more interesting than just a simple well. Now this is a little bit too much. I'm gonna go back a couple of like deformations. Oh, random scale, there we go. And now that we have that, what I can do is I can just like manually change certain proportions. Like maybe this one's a little bit bigger, maybe this one's like a little bit slanted, right? Like we rotate it a little bit. And that's how we create what I like to call a visual interest, right? Like we make things look a little bit more visually appealing. Because one of the most common mistakes or not common mistakes, one of the most common issues that we get inside of the 3D world is that things look too perfect. When we are working with Maya and all of the tools like the Nextut and the Bevel, things look way too perfect. And in the real world, especially like one of this like wells made out of stones, you wouldn't expect things to be extremely perfect all the time. So by doing this, we can create something that looks a little bit more interesting. Yes, we are deviating a little bit from the concept. This is something that you always need to talk with your client and be like, hey, I was thinking about doing this. What do you think? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Because if they don't like it, then don't do it. you just follow the concept exactly as you have it. But if they like it, then you are going to be remembered as an artist that can not only follow a concept, but who can also like, what's the word? Sorry, I'm getting my allergies. You're also going to be remembered as an artist that can contribute creatively to the project, and those are very valuable. Whenever I have an artist, like a student, who is like, hey teacher, I found this and I wanted to try something a little bit different, what do you think? That's great, because that means that that person has that creative mind to not only follow instructions, which is of course very important, but to also like innovate and create something that looks a little bit more interesting. Now imagine every single one of these stones with a nice texture, like a rock texture. We're gonna get something that looks very nice. So yeah, that's the randomized transform. Let's go now with the wooden like construction, which is, I would say, fairly simple. We're gonna start with a cube. We're gonna bring the cube right here, and here's where, again, as I was mentioning a couple of minutes ago, the artist might have like wrongly drawn certain things. It's not the end of the world. You need to adapt. It's one of our work or jobs as a 3D artist. We need to adapt what the artist is doing to make sure that we get the best possible result. So if this thing right here on the concept tells me that it should be here, so we match the concept, that doesn't make sense to me, because then the whole like little roof and everything is going to be off center. So I'm just going to keep it in the center, but I am going to use the reference of the size of the wooden beam, which is roughly like this. You can see that there we pretty much match it. It's roughly like this, maybe a little bit more, and that's pretty much it. We grab this guy right here, and with W, we just bring it all the way up. Again, don't focus on the fact that this is not in line with the concept. Focus on the fact that it looks good on our model. Okay, because otherwise we'll have to move this like right around there, and it makes absolutely no sense, right? Like, it looks super, super horrible. This could be a perspective issue, or it could be a camera issue on my end as well, but I know that this is the proper height, so I'm gonna keep it like this. I also feel like this is the proper width, so that looks good. And of course, I'm not gonna worry about the other side. This is an object that's gonna be mirrored a couple of times, so we're fine. Now let's go to this beams right here. I'm gonna Control D this guy. I'm gonna bring it up, make it way thinner. I'm gonna rotate this probably around there, and again, I'm gonna try to match it, not so that it matches this guy right here. I want to match the angle first, so it's right around there, but I want to match the height, which is right around there. This vertex right here, we can move them and move them so they are exactly where they're supposed to be. Same for this guys. Have to move them in and move them up, so we keep the same volume. We want to keep the same volume. It should be like a weird like wood cut right here. I'm not sure if any one of you guys likes to do like woodworking. It's like a cut right there. Perfect. Now this one is going to be mirrored, so I'm going to freeze transformation, delete history, center pivot. I'm going to press shift, right click, and we're going to mirror this to the X negative axis. Hit apply. So we get both sides right there. Oh, close the camera. Panels look selected, panels tier off copy. That way we get the nice little like wooden beam right there. And now we need to do the little like house, right? So that's pretty much a plane, but I'm gonna do it with a cube. Gonna make a thin cube right here, which is gonna be the wooden base. Let's go to a front view here, because this should be pretty much the same like inclination. That's roughly the size. Now we just need to find the proper position. Like this guy right here feel a little bit off center. There we go. We're gonna grab this guy right here, bring it in and down a little bit again, so we match the volume. And that seems about right. So we just scale this. And again, you always want to see the 3D view of your object and be like, okay, does this make sense? Right now it looks a little bit too long. Like the concept says that it should be right around this size, but again, it doesn't make sense. This is where I'm saying that sometimes concept artists might make mistakes when they're drawing their stuff, and this just does not match, right? Because this means that either these things would need to be like really, really close to the center, or this thing should be smaller. And we actually like pretty much nailed the perspective on the well. So this is where you as a 3D artist are going to have to be like, okay, this definitely has to go a little bit more than the concept says. But again, it's not the end of the world if we do that. There we go. Now you can see that it has an interesting sort of like effect right here. So I'm going to add one line right there. And one line right here. If we want to be extremely precise, we can of course do a mirror on the Z axis in this case, so that both sides are perfectly fine. I'm going to select this edge loop right here and this edge loop right here, Control E. And we're going to extrude a little bit to create a sort of border where everything's going to be connected. Yeah, that looks good. Now, I'm going to go to the front view, because as you can see, the connection point, it's a little bit weird. It's like a slanted connection point. So I'm going to move these things like this. And then I'm going to move these points close to the top like this. The geometry there is getting a little bit stressed. You can see it on the elements. One thing we can do to alleviate is just to bevel that line right there. It's going to make it a little bit softer. It's going to give us a slightly weird result, and it's going to give us an angon. An angon is not an issue on this particular model because it's a flat surface. But usually you do want to avoid angons. I'm going to keep it for now just because. Or if we want to avoid the angon and save that stuff, once we have this thing, just bevel the whole thing. Give it a slightly bigger fraction. There we go. That way we don't have an angon. We give it 2 segments, of course. We don't have angons, and we have a softer effect. This guy, we're going to mirror to the X negative side, but we don't want to merge, so we don't want to combine it. I'm going to have 2 separate pieces. There we go. Here I can definitely see that there's like a little bit of an issue with the distance. So I'm just going to grab this guys. I'm going to get them really close to the center, not exactly on the center, just really close. So that when we do this, we get a nice like element right there. And you can see we have a final cube on the top. So we're going to add 1 cube right here. Just scale it so we have the proper height, or the proper length rather. And then the proper height. There we go. I'm gonna bevel that cube, 2 segments in a small fraction. Look at that. We get the top part of our element very, very nicely there. This guy right here, I am gonna add a center line. And then this vertex right here, I'm gonna push them up, just so that we get like the full coverage right there. We can grab both of these guys, combine them, and we bevel. 2 segments in a small fraction. There's a question right here. Yeah, I know. I'm. Hi, Ricardo. Well, let's go in order. Hi, Ricardo. Good morning to you. I know you're here in Mexico, so. Stubble Studios. Hi, my friend. Barjasing, a cup of coffee. Yeah, I'm gonna go for my cup of coffee as soon as we finish this stream. Right now, I'm just drinking good old water. Atlas the Druid. The way they teach you about angons in school is like if you have one, the whole model will explode. Yeah. And that's the way they taught me. And actually, that's the way I teach my students in the first like couple of semesters, because I want them to avoid them as much as possible. But once they know what they're doing, I teach them, okay, you know what? Like angons are not that bad. Like they work perfectly fine. You just need to know when to use them. They're like a double-edged sword. Same with triangles. They can be very problematic, but if you know where to have them, they're not going to affect you at all. Paras asks, I have a small doubt. Suppose we're just scrolling through Pinterest or Instagram and we come across a concept art which we like and would like to recreate it in 3D. Should we take the permission of the artist, or is it okay to just recreate it without taking the permission? That's a great question. The way we were taught in school is just do it. The worst thing that could happen is once you're finished and you upload it to ArtStation, the artist will contact you and be like, hey, what the hell? Take it down. And then you just take it down and keep it on a private portfolio, and that's fine. Technically, it's fair use, talking about like copyright and trademarks and stuff, it's fair use as long as you don't profit from it. And even if you do profit from it, it's a very, very gray area. So as long as you're not damaging the person, then you should be fine. I'm gonna give you a very like good example. Let's say I wanted to do illustration, and I like Alex Ross. Right, so Alex Ross is a super famous like a comic book artist creator, right? So let's say I start studying and I do a lot of like Alex Ross stuff, and I use his stuff as inspiration, and eventually I do a character that he hasn't done, like a, I don't know, let's say like a Power Ranger, a green Power Ranger, right? And I do that, and then I say, I'm selling green Power Ranger copies on this like style and things. That's where you could get into issues, right? Or let's say you are literally copying the work, like you're literally studying the work from Alex Ross, and you perfectly copy this one right here, and then just try to sell that. That's a problem, right? But if you're just doing it for your portfolio, if you just want to say, hey, I can draw like Alex Ross, then technically it's fine. One of the things that some of my friends did is once you finish a concept art in 3D, you send a message to the artist and it's like, hey, I was inspired by your work and I did this 3D art. If they like it, and most of them tend to like them, they might even share it on their social medias, and that gives you more exposure. So, and in the worst case scenario, they're just gonna be like, I don't like it, please take it off, or don't upload it and whatever, and then you just keep it on your private portfolio. Barjasin asks, I want to start sculpting in Blender because ZBrush is too expensive, but honestly, detailing characters in Blender is, no, it's not as efficient. I haven't been able to get the same results that I get inside of ZBrush, Barjasin. It is, of course, free. I've seen some people do amazing stuff. It's usually a little bit more stylized, not as realistic as inside of ZBrush, and yeah, it's not as efficient. Unfortunately, ZBrush is quite expensive. I'm not gonna lie there. It's a huge price commitment. You can try the subscription, of course, if you know how to. Or sometimes there's like usually in the ZBrush Summit, that's when they get the biggest discount. That's when I got mine a couple years ago. But yeah, Ariane says, can you check your email? Sure. Did you send me an email? Hey, not bad, man. It's looking good. Can I share it on the screen? If you let me share on the screen, I'll show everyone what you sent me. Meg has 2 more questions. You promised to restart the Lighthouse projects. When will it be? And when is the continuation of the Japanese tunnel? That's a great question. So Japanese tunnel will have 2 more videos this week, and the Lighthouse, I think the Lighthouse is going to be after we finish the Japanese one. I want to try to have like 1 character series going and 1 like environment series going. So I think after we finish the Japanese one, which should be like 2 or 3 more weeks, we can restart the Lighthouse. I promise you, my friend, I will not start another environment after the Japanese one if it's not the Lighthouse, okay? Because I know that project has been dead for a while now. Yes, yeah, no, of course, Atlas. That's absolutely like important. You need to give the artist what's the word? Credit. So, for instance, here's my portfolio. This is one of my favorite concepts that I did when I was a student. And in the title, it says Outpost. That's the title of the piece. And then I say the concept is by Eitan Sana. And then I shared the link to Eitan's like portfolio, right? So you always credit the artist when you're doing this sort of stuff. I did the same thing for this guy right here. This Ice Giant Fighter is like character model and based and inspired by a concept from Atlas concept. This one I did tweak quite a bit of things. I changed as the title says, I got inspired by his concept. It's not exactly like what he did, but it's inspired on his style. I really liked his like Alex Constant styles. So yeah, you should always attribute that information to the artist. Atlas says, I just wanted to say I have a hearing learning disability, and I wanted to let you know your English is extremely good and easy to understand. Everything I've learned in ZBrush, I learned from you. Oh, thank you, my friend. Some people say that I do have an accent, like of course, a Mexican accent, but hopefully it's not that bad. Yes, Paras, as long as it's for portfolio purposes, because that's education, and education has like a special exemption from a lot of copyright rules. As long as it's educational purposes, you can do like things for copyright. Like you could do a Mickey Mouse like piece which we know Disney is a very jealous about their IP, and they usually don't let you use it for things that they don't like. But you could do a Mickey Mouse piece for your portfolio, and since it's a portfolio, since it's for educational purposes and it's non-profit, then you should be fine. So okay, this is what Ari is sharing. He is doing this environment and it's looking quite nice. I can see it's kind of like a steampunk or like a post-apocalyptic thing because of the flying bike, but this looks really good. Still in the early stages. This is just like a blocking with a couple of really good models, but it's looking quite nice. Like I can definitely see how this could look like a really strong portfolio piece. Is there any specific reason that even the best stuff out of Blender looks like little stylized rather than realistic? That's a great question. I'm not sure, Gaming Geek. I think it's a little bit of selection bias. I think that's what's called, because most of the artists that are really good don't use Blender. So a lot of artists that are using Blender tend to go for that particular style because that's the style that they do. I don't know if it's like again like some sort of confirmation bias or something, but you can do cool stuff inside of Blender. I love Blender. I'm actually teaching Blender now for my students at the university, for the new students, because it's free. We were having quite a bit of issues, even for educational purposes. We were having quite a bit of issues for with Maya. Okay, let's move here a little bit before we continue with more questions, because otherwise we're not gonna finish, and we only have 15 minutes left. So I'm gonna do the bar now, the one that has the rope. Should be right around there. That looks like the proper size. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger because I think it's supposed to be a little bit rounder. So I'm gonna have the one line right in the center, and then that line I'm gonna like extrude it out. Actually, it shouldn't be a bar, it should be a cylinder, right? So let's go for a cylinder instead. Let's rotate this at 90 degrees so that's perfectly round. Bring it into position. And there we go. It's hard to texture realistic fabric like on Spider-Man suit in No Way Home, for example. Not if you are using the assets, like if you're using like pre-made skins. If you want to create your own like latex stuff, then yeah, it's impossible or very difficult. But if you look, if you are using materials such as all of this guys right here, like it's relatively easy. The most, I guess one of the most complicated things about fabric is the UVs. You need to have really good UVs. That's where you can use Marvel's Designer to plan out all of the clothing in the best possible way. Because nowadays there's so much like fabrics, like material presets for fabrics that you can use. By the way, guys, I'm not gonna play the commercial right now, but remember that we do have the Skillshare promotion that you can use to learn all this stuff. We have Maya courses, like ZBrush courses, Marvel's Designer courses. All of these courses are there, and you can learn. You can learn them. You can learn how to do that. I'm gonna show you a very cool trick here for the rope. Let's do the rope real quick. I'm gonna go to curves and surface. I'm gonna create a circle curve. Now rotate this 90 degrees, and I'm gonna position it right here, right around there. And then I'm gonna Control D and create like several of them, and then I'm gonna like slightly like rotate and maybe like slightly scale some of them. Again, this is to we've mentioned this is to give the whole thing a more realistic look. Like things are never like perfectly perfect. There we go. And now what we can do is we just select all of them, and the inside of Maya 2022 and 2023 we have the sweep tool, which will give us like you just select a curve and it will create an extrusion along that curve. It's super cool. I love this tool. It's one of the best tools that they've added. And as you can see, that's it. Like in a very quick way we can do this. We can lower the intensity. There we go, like a 0.1 to get some like visual interest again. And look at that. Perfect. Now, if we want to make this thing super, super realistic, I'm going to select one of these guys, like this guy right here. I'm going to delete this faces. And I'm going to grab this edge right here. Control E. I'm just going to extrude it down. That's going to be the rope that's going into the well. And even though it doesn't like completely follow, when you show this to someone, they're like, oh yeah, that's a rope that's going around, even though it's like all loops, right? So this is one of the tricks that we use as 3D artists. You don't always have to make everything super, super realistic. You just want to make things like good enough so that people know how it works. So that you can trick people into thinking that things are like perfectly well done. So let's do the base here real quick. I'll answer the questions in just a second, guys, because I wanna finish the model here for this guy before we finish. By the way, all of the live streams that we've done and all of these live streams that we're gonna be doing, if you're just joining and you're like, oh man, I just lost all of the cool information, don't worry, we're gonna have all of them on the live section. If you go into the channel and you look into the videos, there's gonna be a separate section. I'm not sure why they keep them as a separate section, but there's a separate section called the live section, and all of these videos are going to be there. It's a small fraction, and let's bevel this. There we go. And then we mirror. There we go. Cool. So you got the backside there. Now we're just missing the tiles on the top. I'm gonna make them very, very simple, and then if we have another, maybe next Monday we can do the texturing for this thing, and finish. So it's 5 of them, and it's 3 rows of 5. So it's right around there. Gonna have to be a little bit bigger, otherwise we're not gonna be able to cover this with 5. So it's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we're probably gonna need like either more, or some of them are gonna be slightly bigger than others. Okay, so I'm gonna grab those. I'm gonna say bevel. I am gonna keep the bevel on this one's a little bit bigger. Actually, let me combine them. And we bevel. I'm gonna do a slightly bigger bevel for this guys. Let's separate them again. Mesh. Separate. Center the pivot. Control D. I'll be right there with the questions, guys. Let's finish this real quick. Control D. There we go. And now I'm gonna use the same trick we did for the stones. We're gonna grab all of these guys. We're gonna let's save real quick. Center the pivot point. Bonus tools, modify, randomize transforms. And let's start playing with the scale a little bit. Okay, that's a little bit too much. Let's do bonus tools, modify, randomize transforms basics. Let's do 99 and 101. I kind of want to do rotation a little bit, but I'm not sure. And here I could just like manually just like play around with some of them, right? And create something that looks a little bit more patchy, a little bit more fantasy-like. And once we're happy, we can select all of these guys. And we can mirror to the X negative. There we go. Okay, so let's answer some questions. Any free resources for fabric materials? I'm gonna have to look them up, my friend. There should be some, but I haven't seen them. I'll let you know. Is Maya Bifrost equivalent to Blender geometry nodes? Yes, but it's a little bit more powerful and a little bit more complicated as well, because geometry nodes, as the name implies, only works with geometry. And the Bifrost can do fire simulation, volume simulation, water simulation, cloth simulation. It can do like a huge array of things. Colan Cinema says, can you join your works with me? Does that mean you want to do a collaboration? If that's the case, send me an email with what you have in mind, and we can talk about that. Varjasin, Maya is free for educational license. Yes, that's right. Bunty says, hey Abraham, are you going to do second live stream to complete this raid? Yes, I was telling everyone, Bunty, that we're going to have a live stream every single Monday at 9 a.m. Mexico time, 9 p.m. India time, okay? Sometimes it's going to be 1 hour like today. Sometimes it's going to be 2 hours, or depending on how the live stream goes, right? But this week I have a really full schedule, so I can't really do any more than 1 hour. Andrea, wait, I went to the bathroom, and once I come back, a robot appeared on your cylinder. How did you do that? I use this thing called the sweep tool. You can create, this is a really cool tool. Here, like if you create a curve or multiple curves, which is what I did, like I just duplicated this curve a couple times, and you select the curves. In Maya 2022 and 2023, we have this tool called the sweep mesh. You click it and it sweeps around that mesh. So you can play around with the thickness, you can play around with the precision, how like low poly or high poly you want the rope to be. It's a really strong tool. So what I did there is I created a lot of circles. I just modified them a little bit, and then I created the rope. Do you have any particular tutorials that you have done to recommend to someone that's just finished the military camera tutor? Yes, I recommend the complete guide to Maya 2022. It's the one where there's like a little robot doing an animation. That one will teach you all of the things that you need to know to create that little short, and it has modeling, texturing, rigging, animation, all of that stuff. Andrea, see the little helix tool? Yeah, that's the one. What else softwares do you use? I used Maya, ZBrush, Substance Painter, Unreal Engine, Marmoset, Marvelous Designer. That's pretty much it. Photoshop, of course, After Effects, Blender. I use Blender. Yeah, those are the softwares that I know. I have Let's Edge Flow on your model. It depends. If it's gonna be for cinematics or even for games, like you don't need to have edge flows or like a lot of edges unless you're gonna do sculpting. And I don't think we're gonna do sculpting for this one. So that's why I think this is pretty much the wireframe that we're gonna have. Here, let me show you. So this should be more than enough for like a nice render later on. We're just missing the little like the little thing right there, the handle. Here, I'll show you the curve tool again, Andrea. So it's create. I'm gonna use curve tools, EP curve. We're gonna create a little handle thingy. There we go. So that's a curve, right? Now we can go to the control vertex of the curve and just like flatten them out a little bit to make sure they're as nice as possible. And then we just select the curve and we just sweep it. We increase the precision and we lower the scale profile. And that's another way in which we can create this handle. I'm gonna optimize to reduce the amount of polygons. And that's it. Might be a little bit thicker. There we go. Delete history. And then this thing, we just mesh, fill hole. And that cap, we just say edit mesh and poke. That's it. The bevel. And there we go, my friends. With this, we pretty much finish this simple yet interesting concept. I think one thing I would like to do here is I'm gonna just duplicate this like thing that we have on the inside. Let's freeze the transformations. Let's rotate this 180 degrees. Just make it smaller so it's kind of like an attachment point, right, for the whole thing. So that it looks a little bit better. And that's it. 1 hour In 1 hour, we were able to create this cool looking water well that we can use inside of a game or inside of a commercial or something. We're going to be texturing this, I think, next week. I think that's a good idea for UVs and all that sort of stuff. Let's answer some questions for this final minutes. Which one best for modeling, Max or Maya? I personally prefer Maya, but I've heard that Max is a little bit better. Maya is really good in animation. It's the king of animation, but I've heard the Max is really good for modeling. Asking this question for topology purposes. Yeah, again, topology-wise, this is perfectly fine as long as we're not going to sculpt. If we are going to sculpt, then we definitely need a better edge flow so that when we subdivide, we can add the detail that we want. But since we're not going to sculpt, we don't really need it. How did you open reference in new window? I have two cameras. So here in image plane camera, this is the one that we were using. You look through selected, and then you say panels, and then tear off copy. And that way you create a second view. Do you think Blender could be the future? It's going to be a strong competitor. I don't think they're going to destroy Maya, but it's going to be a strong competitor. And it happens in all of the industries. Like, I remember a couple of years ago, if you wanted to be a digital painter, if you want to be a concept artist, the only way to do that was Photoshop. Like everyone was using Photoshop. Nowadays, there's Procreate, there's Krita, there's Photoshop, of course, that's Clip Studio. So there's a lot of different options. Each of those options has different pros and cons. So yeah, it diversifies the market, right? So as long as they're compatible, I'm fine. For instance, I work in Maya. My guys here at the studio, most of them work in Blender. As long as they can export in FBX, I'm fine. I don't care what they're using. Barjasin says, you don't have to be in a school to get an educational license. That's true. There are other ways to get an educational license. I'm not going to go into that because that's not my role. But there are other ways to get an educational license. Will you do an Unreal for cinematics tutorial? That's a great question. I'm not that well versed. I don't use Unreal for cinematics as much. I use it for games or to create games or VR experiences, but I'll look into that. Have you tried Natron for compositing? I did try that a long time back, but I'm not a compositor, so I don't do that process as much. What might you recommend for good portfolio pieces? I'm trying to get freelance work, but no one will give me the time of the day. We have a portfolio review this weekend, so if you haven't submitted, Atlas, make sure to submit, and I'm going to be able to see what you have and tell you what you can do to improve. But usually, if you are going to be a prop artist, things like weapons, cars, robots, guns, and stuff like that are a really good way to get your stuff out there. Eye drops. Yeah, eye drops. And make sure there's an exercise where you can look it up, where you stop seeing your screen and then you try to see something that's really far away, and then something that's mid-level far away, and then something that's really close. That's also good to exercise the muscles, because when you're watching your screen, everything's in the same plane of focus. So by moving things around, that's a good way to keep your eyesight healthy as well. Do you plan to use the sub-D method in the end or just regular polymodeling? For this one, they are being subdivided. So this is number 1 and this is number 3. And as you can see, it holds very well for most pieces, not all of them. So it depends, but yeah, we can use that. What's that song? I don't know. We're using just a playlist from YouTube. It's this one right here. NCS 24/7 copyright free music live stream, because we don't want to get hit by a copyright claim. How should I get better in modeling? Wanted to create complex model. Start with simple things. I think that's one of the best advices that I can give people. Start with something simple and then go from there. So if you wanna let's say you wanna do a transformer, right? So if you take a transformer concept art, you're like, oh yeah, I wanna be a 3D artist and I wanna do this. It's yeah, that's fine. You can do it. Everyone can do it. But you need to start somewhere, right? So instead of trying to use or do one of these transformers as your first portfolio piece, try going for a robot concept, right? And you start with something simple. You're okay, where's my skill level? If I'm really, really, really new, then I'm gonna start with something simple, like this guy. If I'm getting a little bit better and I'm more comfortable, well, maybe we can do something like this. And then if you're already master something like this, okay, let's go to the next level. Let's do something like this. You've mastered this one, okay, perfect. Then you're good to go onto the final level, which would be something like this or like this. So if you do progressive progress, it's a lot easier than if you try to do this as your first portfolio piece. Can you do it? It is possible, but you're gonna have so many frustrations because you're gonna have to learn as you go, and that's very, very frustrating from a learning standpoint. The corners of the handle is not looking right. Yeah, it has a little bit of overlap. You're right. But again, that's the kind of things that sometimes when you're in school, they tell you, oh, that's a problem. It's not really that much of a problem. Like it looks wrong here, but as you can see when you do the number 3 mode, you get this like interesting like handle thingy right there. Can we fix it? Yes. Can we fix it right now? No. We're out of time. But yeah, it's not that it's not the end of the day. The portfolio reviews will come back this next weekend. So on tomorrow's video on the channel, you're gonna see a link that tells you where to submit your link. It's been open. So if you go back to December, the last portfolio review, the one right there should also be pointing to that folder. If I take some screenshot from a game and create a model from it, can it sell it as an aspect? No, that exactly is copyright infringement because you're stealing someone. Even if you redo it, you're stealing the concept. You're stealing things. So no, don't do it. Don't do that. With your experience, which has higher demand, modeling or rigging or texture artist? Modeling has the highest demand, but there's also the highest offer, right? Like everyone or most of every single 3D artist knows how to model, so there's a lot of modelers out there. Rigging has a high demand, but not a lot of people like to do it, and it is quite technical and complicated. And texturing, in my experience, it usually comes hand in hand with modeling. Like if you're a modeler, you need to be a texture artist. You can't just separate them as easily. But yeah, it's complicated. Wow, a lot of questions. Okay, let's keep going. Have you considered making a video on AI's possible impact in the 3D? I did a couple of months ago. I think it has some serious legal issues. I think it's a very like gray area. I do think it's an amazing tool, but we need to find the proper way to use it because right now it is abusing its power and it's stealing a lot of people's like things from our station and stuff. So it's a dangerous thing. We need to know how to use it properly, but it's something that's not going to go away. So we need to find solutions. Have you ever had an occasional license? He's asking first. Class timing. These classes are going to be 9 a.m. Mexico time, 9 p.m. India time every Monday. Would you ever have a contest based on environments? Yes, we will. But right now we're working on the creature, the little cute creature. Can you please do 3D tracking tutorial using Maya? I will add that to the list. Yes. Where can we submit the portfolio for the review? The video will be up tomorrow with the link on the comments or in the description so that you can do that, my friend. Is it a good idea to aim for generalist position as a junior? I'm interested in cinematic creations and matte painting. Yes, a generalist is a great way to start. Technically I am considered a generalist because I know a little bit about everything, but I'm a generalist with a specialization on like characters and creatures. That's like the things that I like to do the most, but I know a little bit about the whole thing. So being a generalist is really good, especially it depends on the country where you're at. If you're in the United States, then trying to be a specialist might get you better jobs, but if you're in any other place, usually a generalist will get you more opportunities. For character design, sculpt is good. Yeah, sculpting is always good. If you can do traditional sculpting, it teaches you a lot of very good principles. Please share your Instagram link. I do not use Instagram. Hello, sir. I ask why modelers always use number 3 mode often. It gives you a subdivided like view of your object, and it just makes it look nicer. You can't use that all the time. For instance, games don't like number 3. They don't have number 3 subdivision mode. It's just a quick way to use the mesh and smooth. It's pretty much the same thing, but without being permanent. So when I select this guy right here and I press number 3, it's the exact same thing as what I'm doing here, but this one has permanent like topology, and this is just a preview. So inside of Maya, number 3 is really useful because you can switch between one and the other. Do you prefer 3D gaming laptop or just build a PC? I have my PC. I game on my PC. What's the hardest job you've been to? Ooh, that's a good one. I was in a job not so long ago where they asked me to do a lot of reconstruction from 3D scans, and I've never done 3D scans before. And they asked me, have you done 3D scans before? I was like, yes, of course I've done 3D scans before. I haven't, so I had to learn on the at the same time that the job was going. But I did nicely, so they were happy with the results. Sometimes you can take the risk and you get some interesting results. If the end product area is very different, it's okay. Yes, if the end product is very different, if it's derivative, then you should be fine. But always ask a lawyer if you have a friend. Happy New Year to you, IC Film. How to avoid texture stretching when being subdivided? You need to add support edges or don't subdivide. one of the others. So yeah, that's one of the problems. When you subdivide, there's going to be a little bit of texture stretching. So you either like permanently smooth or you work with the texture. I'll show you this on the next stream. But yeah, that's it, guys. I actually went a little bit over what I had planned for today. I have a full schedule of things that I need to get to. I need to go to my guys here at the studio to check on some upcoming things. Thank you very much to everyone that was here. This is going to be a weekly thing now. We're going to try to have our live stream every single Monday. Early Monday for Mexico, late Monday for India time. So you won't see a video on Mondays usually because we're going to have the live stream. Unless something happens, I'll let you guys know. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, leave a comment on the videos, and check back tomorrow for the link to the portfolio review. We're going to continue with the Asian environment. We're going to continue with Little Creature. There's a couple of tips that I want to show you this week as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you very much. I'll see you back tomorrow. Bye-bye.